Okay, let's dive in because honestly, if you're following the news, what's happening with oil prices, it feels completely backward right now. You see these headlines, military actions, tensions flaring in the Middle East, and yet Brent Crude, it's actually taken a dive. It just doesn't seem to add up, does it?
Yeah.
We're seeing prices fall from, what, around $78, $80 a barrel down closer to $71, $72, with a really sharp drop just a few days back, maybe June 23rd, 24th. So our mission today, let's figure this out. We want to, unpack the hidden gears turning behind the scenes, why the market acts like this.
Yeah, it's fascinating. What you're really seeing is the market acting like a pretty sophisticated interpreter of risk. It doesn't just react to any conflict headline. It asks, okay, but does this actually physically stop oil from getting to market?
Right.
It's like it tries to see through the noise.
Right. That's a really key difference because, when the news broke about U.S. and Israeli strikes hitting Iran, my gut reaction was, okay, here we go. Prices are going to skyrocket. But your sources mentioned the UK Foreign Secretary called those strikes very targeted and specifically not about regime change. So the market just, shrugged.
Well, not exactly shrugged, but it analyzed the specifics. It looked at that, and then you connect it to Iran's own response, targeting that U.S. base in Qatar. That was widely described as calculated, even choreographed. And the market zooms in on the details, right? No U.S. casualties reported, missiles intercepted, the base was evacuated beforehand, the attack was almost telegraphed. It signals that Iran wanted to, save face, but without taking off something truly catastrophic. The market reads those signals.
Okay. Calculated responses. But what about those threats, the really scary ones, about potentially closing the Strait of Hormuz? That sounds like a direct hit to supply. Surely that moves the needle.
It absolutely could. But again, how serious did the market perceive that threat to be right now? You had the Iranian parliament voting, yes, but then almost immediately, very strong diplomatic pushback. The UK Foreign Secretary calling it a monumental act of self-harm, mentioning contingency plans, urging Iran to back down. So the market, it seems to have assessed the immediate risk of that actually happening as lower. It kind of reduced that geopolitical risk premium you'd normally expect. It's like it's looking past the immediate shouting match to the actual perceived likelihood of disruption,
Right.
which it currently sees as pretty low.
Okay. So if the geopolitical fears are being sort of downplayed or seen as contained for now, what is dragging prices down so hard? There must be a stronger force pulling the other way.
Exactly. And that's where the fundamentals really kick in. Basic economics. You've got two big things. One, global supply is actually pretty robust. OPEC Plus has capacity. Non-OPEC producers like the U.S. shale fields are churning out oil. Plus you have strategic reserves as a cushion. But the really big factor, the one kind of overpowering the Mideast tensions right now, it's worries about global demand. There are significant concerns floating around about a global economic slowdown, maybe even recession, particularly looking at major economies like China. Less economic activity means less energy needed. And that fear, that potential drop in demand, is currently weighing much heavier on prices than the geopolitical stuff that isn't directly stopping oil flow. Oil prices often give you a heads up on economic health.
It's funny because whenever markets do something unexpected like this, the first thing you often hear people ask is this rigged? Is it manipulation?
Yeah, that question always comes up. But you have to remember, global oil markets, especially for a benchmark like Brent Crude, they are massive, incredibly liquid, generally transparent. Prices are set by the combined actions and assessments of millions of buyers and sellers all over the world, processing all this information constantly. So what you're seeing, these price drops, they reflect that complex collective analysis, weighing the supply, the demand, the nuance of the risk. It's not really manipulation in the illicit sense. It's the market functioning, maybe counterintuitively at times, but efficiently based on the information available.
Right. So pulling this all together, what's the main takeaway for you listening to this and trying to make sense of these price swings?
Basically, this sharp drop in Brent seems to be the market saying two things loud and clear. One, we think the current Middle East risk, while serious, is likely contained for now and isn't stopping the oil flow. And two, we're actually more worried right now about the global economy slowing down and using less oil later this year. It's like a giant information processor. Sometimes the output seems weird, but there's usually a logic, a collective assessment behind it.
Okay, so given all that complexity and the fact that the usual triggers like Mideast tensions aren't having the expected effect right now, it leaves us with a pretty interesting thought to chew on, doesn't it? If this level of geopolitical noise isn't enough to send prices soaring, what would it actually take? what specific kind of event, or maybe what specific economic signal would you need to see to signal the next really big sustained move upwards in oil? Something for you to ponder.